Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, we've got a really unfortunate situation here. In the background there you can see the remains of a large hay shed with the smoke coming out of it still. In the foreground here you can see there's a cropped paddock that they've partially harvested, and behind that is a burnt patch of paddock. When you stack hay that is slightly too wet in your shed, the pile of hay insulates itself, and as the damp hay starts to break down, it produces heat. Because you have so much hay stacked around it, it can't dissipate the heat like a single bale would, and it just keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter until it gets to a critical state where it combusts. Once you get to this point, there's almost nothing you can do about it. As soon as you move bales from around the outside that might be a bit drier to get in to put the fire out, you let the air in, and then it goes up in a big way. So this shed now has been burning for about 4 days, and it's just smouldering away, and there's nothing you can do to put it out. And this is a big shed. It had a lot of hay in it. We had a lot of rain at the time of baling, and I guess they thought they had got it dry enough before they stacked it into the shed. But around the district, I believe we've lost about 4 hay sheds for this reason. This is one of the paddocks that some of the hay in the shed was cut from. Now these are very good farmers, and they usually have some of the best crops in the district. However, this year they battled with it the whole season. Because of the odd season we had, it made everything tricky. So they always go in and plant fairly early. We had a little bit of rain, which was just enough to germinate everything this year, and they had their crop planted for that rain, and it germinated. And then we didn't get any rain for about another 6 weeks, I think it was, and this all died off, and I thought they were going to have to reseed. There was, however, just enough moisture for there to be enough green shoots left on the plants for them to come back. Mostly there's a couple of patches in here that didn't recover, but most of it did. They were very lucky. It would have only been another week and they would have had to reseed if they didn't get rain. And it grew nicely and it looked like a good crop. And they cut it for hay, and then it rained. And it rained and it rained and it rained. And I thought it sat on the ground for a long time while they were trying to dry it out. They didn't rake it or turn it, which surprised me a little bit. So it was on the ground for probably a bit over a month, I think about 5 weeks actually, while they were trying to dry it. And it went black and it looked horrible, and it had green shoots coming up through it. Now this is the biggest problem. So I thought at that point they were just going to leave it and not bother baling it. But then I saw they'd raked it up into, they'd turned 2 rows into 1 row, and a few days later they baled it all. Once it has the green shoots coming through it, you've basically lost the hay, because you can't do anything to get that green out of your windrows, other than keep raking it until everything dries out enough and it dies off like it is at the moment. But they raked it and they baled it, and these green shoots that were in there are probably what brought the moisture up enough to make it start rotting and to cause the fire in the shed. So whenever you're baling hay, be very aware of any of the green shoots in it. If it's been sitting out too long, unfortunately, you need to just leave it in the paddock, or once you've baled it, leave the bales in the paddock so they can dry out at least. So the shed has been burning for almost a week and a half now, and you can see it's still smoking away out there. There's very little left of the shed. Now, the shed's stuffed. That shed is probably more than $750,000 worth of shed, probably over $1 million. It probably also had more than $1 million worth of hay stored in it. That's all going to be insured, and they'll get their money back. The problem is that this guy has built up a customer base over probably the last 20 years. And he's stored that hay in his shed so that he can supply all of his customers for all through this year without them having a break and not being able to get hay. Now, he is either going to have to go and try and buy all of that hay from other farmers in the area so that he can keep supplying his customers, and that is a lot of hay he is going to be looking for, and he's going to have to get that from a long way away. Or if he can't supply those customers, unfortunately they are going to go and find hay somewhere else. They need their hay, so they're going to find it somewhere, and he's not going to get all of them back until something goes wrong with their new supplier. Next year when he's got hay, some of them will come back, probably half of them, but the rest of them he just won't see again. So he's lost his customer base that he has spent a long time building up. Anyway, when you go to stack your hay in the shed, please just make sure that it is dry enough. If you're not sure, leave the bales out for a bit longer to dry, or stack them very loosely so that they can get some air through them to dry out, and stop them from getting too hot, and check them regularly. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Stay safe everybody, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!